I've been coaching here for 9 years. I have just recently became the head coach in the past 2 seasons. Some of the most important values that we try to instill in the players is teamwork, accountability, communication, time management. I try to explain to the kids on and off the field that time management is a huge part of being successful here and in college and in life. Holding each other accountable to make the team better, makes them better individually. I've had a lot of great coaches over the years. There has been one that I have played for and I have coached with, and she has taught me how to care for the players personally and athletically. It was Coach Chris Steiner, Leak. I played for her at AUM, and she coached here at Brewtech for 2 years. She was the head coach the year we won the state championship in 2023. And while she's hard on the players, she loved them, and she taught me how that there's a line where you can be hard, but also, still show empathy and compassion for your kids. My most memorable moment since I've been at Brewtech is in 2023 when we won the state championship. We had a great team, barely any drama. You know how high school kids can be. They worked hard on and off the field. We didn't have to worry about their grades. We didn't have to worry about whether they were putting in extra work or not. The day we won the state championship, we had played 3 games the previous day and 4 games, including the 2 state championship games. We had a 6 or so hour rain delay, and we didn't get finished playing until midnight, and the girls had graduation the next day. So to see their heart and their drive and not wanting to leave for graduation or not wanting to give up in that 6-hour rain delay and having to play 7 games in 2 days, it was probably one of the best moments that I've been a part of as an athlete or a coach. This is Beyond the Locker Room, elevating the game one conversation at a time.
Probably no better example of democracy than a jazz ensemble, because it's individual freedom, but with responsibility to the group. So the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz has several components. We have a college program at UCLA. We sponsor International Jazz Day along with UNESCO every April 30th. We have an international jazz competition. And we also have our national peer-to-peer jazz education program, where we take 5 or 6 of the very top high school jazz musicians, put them behind a top-notch, famous recording artist, instrumental and vocalist, and we tour the country. And we've been to 36 states. This year, we have 4 states on the docket, and Alabama is one of them.
So our role as high school students, we go around to different states. This is the 37th state we've been in the peer-to-peer tours. And what we do is we go around to different high schools around the state, and we give a presentation like the one we did today on informants. We play a little bit and we talk a little bit, and hopefully hearing the high school students hearing what we did will hopefully inspire them more than, not to say more, but probably more than adults playing our music. Seeing that people their age can do it, that they can do it.
It was kind of nervous-y. Like, it felt kind of overwhelmed because I didn't know what was going to happen in the moment. Because, I was going to go in, sit down and do my own thing, and then she was like, put down your stuff, take them off, you got to see somebody. Oh, I didn't know I had to see somebody, so, I asked the professional. She asked me if I was a singer. I said yes. And then she said, "You like surprises?" I was like, "Yes, I love surprises." And then she was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna tell you then." That's what shook me.
It's really instilled in me, like, you know, the importance of hard work and you know, dedication, because even though this music is all about freedom and, you know, expression, and it's all coming from within you, there is a certain level of study, you know, you have to do, and like in order to you know, in order to play at a high level, you know, you have to do your homework and, you know, do your research and learn things. So it's really instilled in me that sense of hard work, expression, man. Like I always tell the story, like before jazz, I think I didn't express my way how I can express now through jazz. Like I've always been, you know, not a very extroverted person, but man, it's been times where I almost scare myself with how expressive I am, like with jazz. So it's amazing.
Don Braden and the National Peer-to-Peer Jazz Sextet. One more time, Booker T.
So the robotics program for Montgomery Public Schools started as a grant through Hyundai, and we are from under the grant now. This is our second year being funded through the school district, but they continue to be our partner and help sponsor the event along with Auburn SCORE. So we have robotics teams at 8 of the middle schools here in Montgomery, and today they're coming together to compete against each other in the district, and if they win today, they'll be going to state, which we hosted in Auburn at the end of the month.
I think that this is a great opportunity for us to skill build and also get students working with technology. We obviously know that in the industries that they'll be working for will be all about collaboration and technology. And so it's fun to watch our students as they collaborate together. They get roles, so you'll have team leaders, coders, drivers, and then critical thinking skills, being able to adjust and make decisions on the dime. Those are all really, really important skills that students need to be successful, but also great experiences for life.
So a lot of things that me and my team did to prepare for today, we practiced it with our other team that we're in alliance with. We all did game strategies and stuff. And we had worked on the robot, like different problems that we were having. We had made sure that we fixed them before we came to them. My favorite part about being on my school's robotics team means that like I can represent them in many different ways for robotics.
evening. Welcome everyone to the important and inspiring moment for the Montgomery County Public Schools. Today, we take a vital step forward together as we prepare to present one of the finalists for the superintendent position, a leadership role that is central to our shared commitment to our students, staff, and the community. We are so excited to have had you all to engage in surveys and focus groups, and we had where you had multiple opportunities to participate. Our focus, first and foremost, remains on our students, their voices, their dreams, and their limitless potential. They are not only the heart of our schools, but the key to the future of our county and city. When our students succeed, our community thrives and grows stronger and more united and more vibrant. As we consider the candidate before us, let us also recognize that success comes from collaboration. It takes all of us, parents, educators, and local businesses, civic organizations, and elected officials to create the thriving environments our students need. Our next superintendent must be someone who values the voices of students and empowers them to achieve, participate in shaping their future. We seek a leader who will support our dedicated staff, ensuring that they have the resources, encouragement, and trust to excel in their roles. So at this moment in time, I will introduce to you all HYA, Dr. Joseph, who has worked diligently with the Montgomery County Board of Education in this search. Dr. Joseph.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to night 2 of our superintendent search. Just the process once again. We're going to have Dr. Wright come out, who's our second candidate, and Dr. Wright will have 15 minutes to present his little bit about his leadership story and also speak to his 100-day plan. Once he completes those 15 minutes, we'll open up with about 45 minutes of question and answer. We have questions that have come from community members prior to arriving today online that we've collected, and we'll also give you an opportunity to ask questions from the audience. So you should have an index card. If not, raise your hand and we'll make sure that you get one. Please feel free to write your questions down. We'll collect them and we'll make sure your questions are asked this evening. Okay? So if there's no further ado, we will bring out our second candidate, who is Dr. Harold Wright. Round of applause for Dr. Wright.
Good afternoon, Montgomery, Alabama. Hey, thanks for being here to listen to my story. I am extremely excited about sharing my background, my leadership, and how we're going to come together to work as a team. And that's, as a school district, as a city, we need all the groups to come together because our kids are of primary importance. And so just a little bit about me. You'll get this presentation, but a little bit about me. You know, I tell people I'm a spiritual man, I'm a family man, I'm a career man. I've been a leader. But my strength is in building teams. And when we work as a team, everywhere I've been, we work as a team, things got better. Things got better. Kids love school. Kids love learning. Parents love sending their kids to our schools. And so those are things, when I get here, we're going to work as a team because I believe the talent is already in here in Montgomery Public Schools. The talent is here. People love this school district. And so I will be collaborator in chief. I hope I work this thing right. There we go. I've done a lot of research on this school district. You have some talent. You have some great kids. I visited 3 schools today, and I saw people working really hard. Principals sharing their passion. Kids embracing me as a visitor, and it felt good. And so culturally, you're moving in the right direction. There are some things that happened over the past 5 years. I always say, appreciate the present, but also recognize there were some people before you who put some things in place to get you to this place today. So we'll continue to plant seeds, and of course, one day, somebody will enjoy the shade, whereas we won't. And so when I looked at this mission, vision, and values, I said, that's it. I connect to this work. We can move this school district. I share it with the board. When elephants fight, it's an African proverb, the grass suffers. When elephants fight, the grass suffers. But when we work together, we can build pyramids. We can take everything straight up as a team. But when we compete, we will win. This school district has to be our parents' first and only choice. And we can grow our enrollment. It has to be parents' first and only choice. So how I'll do the work? This is the success triangle. I will work with the school board. They're my bosses. And so they create policy, the vision. They also build the budget, but they hire and fire the superintendent. And so I will make sure they're my priority. At the other corner, the community. We have to engage the community. We can't do this work alone. We cannot do this work alone, but also given the teachers, the principals, the staff, the resources that they need, they're in that other corner as a support mechanism. So in the middle of that triangle, we have to lift up our kids. Every kid matters. Here's my leadership profile. I'm a servant leader. I'm not coming here to make a name for myself. My grandpa did a great job of making a name for me and the generations to come. And so, but you'll know that I'll have a commitment to excellence. If you read every day, every student every day experiences excellence. And it goes back to the mission, vision, and values that you've already put in place. So I'll embrace all of that work. Here are my beliefs. Quite simply, my expectation, including myself, my personal expectations, is really for every teacher, every principal, every staff member, every student, give their best every day. And then when you wake up tomorrow, try to do better. That's an expectation. We ought to all give our best in trying to make sure our students experience excellence. Have an abundance mentality, a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. That's some of Carol Dweck's work. But really thinking about all of our kids and the opportunities we can give to them. And then be equity and solution-oriented focused. I don't accept the blame game. I will never say, I don't want to hear said that those kids from that neighborhood, you get me? That's not right. That's not right. We're going to focus on all of our kids and lift them up. Some kids, it takes a little bit more time. And so we'll make sure we have plans for every single student that walks through our doors. A few more things. I think you recognize the picture. That's Marion Jones. When I was a high school principal of 5,300 students, did that for 8 years, and I still have hair. Y'all can laugh at my jokes. I still got hair. But the one thing I do believe in, you can read this, you'll get this presentation, I believe in second chances. Marion Jones was released from prison the day before she came to my school. And so if you want to watch it, it's on 30 for 30. She filmed part of it in my school of 5,300 students, high school. But it was really about pressing pause and making good choices, character building. And I wanted my students to see someone who was working really hard but made a bad choice and had to pay for it, but deserved a second chance. All of our kids deserve a second chance. Our teachers and staff deserve a second chance. That's life. No one's perfect, but we're going to work towards excellence. My theory of action, quite simply, it looks like this. If we believe in data, and we use data to design effective schools and effective schools practices, and we engage our parents and community, and we create intentional partnerships, then we will realize our school district's mission, vision, and values. And all of our kids will go to great schools and experience excellence every day. How about that? Isn't that a great thing? I think it's awesome. Here's what great looks like. This is a vision. Ensure safe, supportive, and supported schools. So what I started out with, you have all the pieces in place. I'm just going to be the connector. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. This school is doing great things. This school is doing great things. Our parents believe in the mission, vision, and values. Our community believes in it. Our school board, we're all on the same page because that success triangle has to have balance in order for our kids to thrive. The one thing I will share to you and what I want to bring is a cradle to career pipeline of student support and services. You know, some kids, you know, our economy, we struggle. We got to reach out to the families and lift them up as well. As I go and transition into my entry plan, you can scan this QR code and have access to the beginning of my presentation. But what I want to say to you, my entry plan is very organic. If I truly believe and value the people here, the one thing I have been doing, will continue to do 30 days before I get here, is study what's going on here, what's been working. So I reach out to the cabinet and I'll share with you some of the documents I'll look at, but I want to know, how do we get here? How did you move this school district from a D to a C? And then when we get to phase one, connect and collect. I believe in people. People have been working really hard here, and I need to appreciate their efforts. I believe in building relationships and staying connected. You'll never see me burn a bridge. You know, you might see me apologize just to keep that bridge open because I make mistakes, and people are going to make mistakes as well. And so we have to learn to appreciate who the people are who are working really hard, but sometimes make a mistake. But phase one, what I'll do, and I'm going to go to the second page, what I'll do, here's some of the documents I'll look at, documents needed for the document review and analysis in my pre-entry plan. If someone in technology can scroll it up, there are some questions I want to share. My clicker's not doing that. Anyway, in light of that, in phase one is connect and collect. And connecting with our educational community, everyone is important. It goes back to that success triangle. You know, I'll start with the board first and ask them questions. And basically, I'm going to ask them, if or when hired, where should I start first? What's my first opportunity to be visible and come in here as the new superintendent of Montgomery Public Schools? My second question will be, what 3 things are important to you that I need to focus on? The next question will be, give me 3 internal stakeholders that I need to visit with. Who are the people that are really moving the ship? And then name 3 people that I need to speak with externally. And then that last question is, what makes this district so great that you really believe in it? What's connecting you to keep you driven? And so those are things I want to do through the first, is really 60 days. And then when I get to phase 2, I'll sit with the cabinet. We're going to analyze what I've learned. And I need to understand the story behind the numbers because I see the quantitative outcomes. You know, I can look at your chronic absenteeism. I can look at your attendance rates. I can see how you performed on reading and math. But I will not know the story behind the numbers. And so to build proper context, I'm going to start with the cabinet. And so we'll work as a team. They have to, you know, I'll be a new quarterback. That's all it is. I'll just be a new quarterback. Everybody will have their role and responsibility. And it'll be very detailed and organized with how we'll work. But really analyzing all the information, pulling in surveys. There will be surveys that go out to students, staff. It includes teachers and principals and community. What will those surveys tell me? Is really, what do you really like about Montgomery Public Schools, but really, how can we get better? And that's what my entry plan will look like. But let me tell you, it's not scripted. I think until I talk to the people, I'm not going to make one decision to move one way or the next. That's not right. I need to listen to you. Your input is valued. What you have to say. And if I come in here and start saying, well, he's coming in here to change things up, no. I may come in here and say, let's tweak things. Remember, I'm a coach. I'm going to let the people work, but I will coach them. And I will stretch them. You know, I call it the Michael Jordan rule. Michael Jordan didn't win any championships until he helped make his teammates better. You know, he missed 26 game-ending shots. And then when he started distributing the basketball and he trusted his teammates and they started nailing those last shots, they started winning championships. And so what I have to do is really come in here, embrace the board, embrace the cabinet, embrace the community, and we're going to work as one. And so that's my entry plan. It's very organic. What I will do at the end of it, once it's complete, I'll give a report to the board, but we will give a report to the board as a cabinet. We will be what I call, there's a team one at the district level. That's the cabinet. Okay, there's a thing called law of the lid. And if one leader tries to do all the work, nothing much gets accomplished. But when there's distributed leadership and there's trust, then things are going to improve. That's called working as a team. And so that's in my DNA. That's what I do. You know, you may like me, hate me, and not want me, but I show up every day. Okay? And so I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. I'm going to show up every day and lead. And that's what I do. So thank you for listening. I got a whole 1 minute and 28 seconds left, Doc.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Round of applause, everybody. Thank you. Takes a lot of time and courage to come up here and speak to a community for 15 minutes on such an important topic. So we'll start with questions that came from online, and if we have the cards, you can bring them forward, and I'll happily read from there. Let's see here. Dr. Wright, one community member wants to know, how much weight do parent and teacher concerns factor into your decision making?
So number one, I think the strength of any leader should be listening. And so when I think about parents, I'm a parent, and I'm a grandparent. Every parent is concerned about the direction of their child. What parents have to say, I'm going to take my time and listen. It's highly important. I'm a servant leader, and we provide service and support to everyone, to the teachers, but especially our parents. They're our customers. And we've got to provide customer service so they can have a great customer experience. And so if we do things like that, me and my team, we do things like that, then people will start believing in us more. People will start trusting in us more. But when parents come in, sometimes they don't know how to say it. I'll help them frame it because, again, I'm a parent, and then I work with a lot of children over time. And so I know sometimes what they're trying to say, but don't quite know how to frame it. But I will be a listener, and I will expect our cabinet, our principals to do the same thing. We need to build trust in our community, especially with our parents.
Thank you. And what is your vision for integrating technology into education? And how do you plan to ensure equitable access for all students and teachers?
Thank you. This is a great question. Number one, what I want to say, I just finished a year-long process of really looking at one-to-one devices, but also those interactive smart devices that are in every classroom. We have to modernize the learning. We have to modernize the learning. And so what it would look like, teachers will engage students. They'll be able to monitor their work when they're working online. You have to remember, and I know in Texas, I'm going to say Texas, our test is online. I took the 7th grade math test. And if our instruction does not match the test, we're setting our kids up for failure. So I took the test. Let me give you an example. we looked at one of the problems was simplifying 5 fractions into simplest form. And kids had to take the simplest form from those fractions and drag them. They had to grab and drag them to a number line and place them in sequential order. And I said to myself, if our students aren't practicing this every day, how they're going to be assessed, we're setting them up for failure. So we have to make sure that we have strong alignment in how we use technology. There's got to be a training component to make sure teachers, staff, and students know how to use technology to benefit their learning. And so I have done that work, and when you see it, our kids are better engaged. That's a strong engagement strategy. So thank you for the question again.
Thank you. Next question from the community. In 2023, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed legislation for districts to apply for state funding to install cameras in self-contained special education classrooms to address safety concerns about potential abuse or mistreatment of nonverbal students. Given the fact that other Alabama counties have already put this in place, how soon will you seek funding and implement this policy in Montgomery Public Schools special education classrooms?
Number one, I work with the board. I won't seek anything without the board's approval. Then I work with my cabinet, and we'll come up with a plan for how we address that issue. And I know I have experience in that. Those cameras are turned on when parents request it. And I know in the classrooms, those cameras are audio-visual cameras. And in restrooms, they're audio only. And so I have experience with the camera, but that's a process. Parents may request it if they think their child is in danger. We want to be kid-friendly and kid-first and keep all kids safe. And that's just a process. Now, at the will of the board, they may say, Dr. Wright, let's move forward on this. But I have to work with them first. But I have experience with that. It works. And it really helps when someone blames a teacher for something happening to the kid. We go into a full investigation mode, but we got the cameras as evidence. So, great question.
Thank you. Our next question from the community is, the Alabama Character Education Mandate of 1995 made Alabama the second state to make character education law. Texas has leading character education programs in major cities, including Houston. Have you supported and worked with character education strategies, and will you see that character education will be implemented in practical and affordable ways in this historic capital city where Dr. King used to speak about the critical importance of good character?
The answer is yes. Let me tell you about that. We do some really fun things around character. I'm not going to sing to you, but it's really, there's a character ed song, wisdom, justice, courage, and compassion. May they always be in fashion. Hope, respect, responsibility, but don't forget your own integrity. Our kids learn that stuff. It helps them make better choices. That's what character education is about. Even when they leave the schools, this is about choice making. We work with our parents. We want to be on the same page. You're raising kids. I'm from the country, and somebody's going to say, you're raising chickens too. No, you're raising kids. We are developing our children. We're growing them up. We need to make sure that we're giving them tools and strategies so they can make good decisions and feel good about those decisions. And so that's that innate character. Inside, I feel good about a choice that I made. It was wise because someone imparted some wisdom, but we recognize kids for displaying good character in those classrooms. So it's a big thing. And what it's really meant to do is help us be more proactive with our discipline practices. You know, there's a code of conduct before we get to a consequence. We want to make sure we instill in our kids good behavior by imparting with them character education. You know, I tell my grandkids, be good when they go to school. And then when they come home, they call me, say, how was school? Papa, I was good. And that means the world to me. They respect the adults. They respect their peers. And so, yes, there will be a huge emphasis, and I really hope the city and our families embrace that.
Thank you. We have a question from a community member here. And the question is, given the latest local news reports with a few frustrated city leaders, specifically the Chamber of Commerce, what are your thoughts on them pulling out of hosting the interviews, and how will you go about addressing this situation?
You know, one of the things that, and I appreciate their perspective, but really what's important to me is making sure that our kids are successful in classrooms. And so I think we can all get behind that, right? I hope that when I come here, there will be a healing period. I can only control me, but I will reach out to everyone that wants to be part of something great, something successful. All of you, parents, community, members in our community who are in leadership positions. When we work together, great things will happen. And so that's my perspective. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. An elected official asked, what will you do to prevent deficits stemming from school choice law?
One thing that will help us is becoming the best school district in the city, county, state, and the nation. Best school district. But we need to make sure that it's just like special ed. When we look at special ed, we look at the individual characteristics and needs of students who are special needs. I think we need to apply that to every child and have an individualized education plan for every child. Not that, every child's special, but every child is different. And when we focus on the needs of the child, not group them, when I look at data, we get data around how this group of students work and how this group of students work. That tells me nothing about little Harold. Okay, it's just data. But when we look at the individual needs of every student and we have a plan for the students, I think that it will stave off all of this competition out there, and people will want to stay in Montgomery Public Schools because we will be the number one and only choice.
Thank you. A citizen asked about school safety, and the question is, school safety is a top priority, ensuring the well-being of students, faculty, staff, and the community at large. What enhancements or innovative approaches would you implement in our school district to promote safe and supportive learning environments?
Thank you. Great question. Where I come from, we had a very difficult tragedy to work through in one of our South Texas schools near San Antonio. It taught us a lesson. What we do every day, we do door audits. We do door safety audits. Exterior doors, there are no doors propped open. And I'm very serious about safety. There's visitation protocols. You have to ring a doorbell to get in the school. And then you have to identify who you are and what you need in the school. If you have a child there, that's another thing. When you enter the school, we ask for your ID. We run it through the Raptor system because we want to make sure you don't have a criminal history and we're letting someone in who should not be around kids. The other thing, what we do and what we've done the research around, in all of the violent acts in schools, especially with shooters and active shooters, no child or adult has been killed when the doors have been locked. Now, the other thing, we will do behavior threat assessments. When kids make threats, we need to prove if they're real or not. Do they have the ability to carry out that threat? We will have trained personnel on every campus around behavior threat assessments. And they will work with counselors. They will work with, it's a multi-tiered support system. If they have some mental health needs, we'll provide that. So we're going to address it proactively, but also we're going to provide the wraparound support if they have certain needs that they're not receiving when coming to school. Safety is primary importance. I take it personally. I do not want to lose one child or adult. When we care about people, when we truly care, we will do those things to do our best to prevent them. And so I'll work with the police chief. I'll work in partnership with the local officials to get support that we would desperately need. But safety will be a prime concern to how we conduct business day to day.
Thank you. A community member has this question. What sets you apart from other superintendent candidates?
Thank you, great question. My training and development, I think I was a pretty good school teacher, so I have a perspective on the needs of teachers. But I was a successful elementary, middle school, high school principal. And also I worked at the state. My role at the state level was to help underperforming schools get better through community partnerships work. That role taught me something, that all school districts aren't doing the same thing to help kids be successful. And so I created a model. I just shared that model with you. When we pull the pieces of the puzzle here in Montgomery together, we will have full school services to where our kids will thrive. My uniqueness is the fact that I work with underperforming schools in large urban school districts such as Houston and Dallas, and did turnaround in schools that were failing for 8 consecutive years. We worked 1 year and turned it around in 1 year, and we put sustainable practice. What makes me different, I work as a team. I don't need any credit. Again, I'm not coming to make a name for myself. I'm coming to make a name for these children. That's what I work for every day. That's what's unique about me.
Thank you. How will you tackle maintenance in existing school buildings and educational facilities?
One thing, and I shared this at one of the previous interviews, we must have a facilities maintenance long-range plan. The one thing I know, and we just finished this work in the district where I'm at currently in Texas, some of our buildings were too old. We were putting tape on things and trying to utilize space that was not intended for children to be in learning. And we were putting patchwork on schools that were not sealed and properly enveloped, and they were losing air, and we were spending more money. Schools typically have a 50-year life cycle. We need to look toward the future of our facilities. When they have run out of time, basically, we need to start thinking about modernizing where our kids attend school and learn. And so a long-range facilities plan, including the board, there will be a workshop for the families in the community to engage them on what great schools look like, what great school buildings look like. So I'll be fully inclusive of bringing the community in, but a long-range facilities plan, and doing weekly check and connects with the school district's operations team to see where we're going and our buildings holding up. You got to do those things. It helps stabilize the budget as well.
Thank you, and I'm going to go back to one of our online questions, and it is, with all of the proposed federal cuts from the federal government, and with the federal government proposing to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education and shifting responsibilities to individual state departments of education, how would you handle the cuts in a district that is so heavily funded by federal funds?
So one of the things, when I build a budget, it's student-centric. And I can guarantee you that any cuts that will be made, that have to be made, will be external classrooms. We're not going to touch classrooms. We're not going to cut teachers. Because that's where the learning takes place. That's where the rubber hits the road. And so we have to be true to our mission, vision, and values. There are other things that we can do, like seek grants. We can shift funding to other areas to make sure that we're moving forward with operating this school district successfully every day. So there are some opportunities I think we have. But the other thing, working with the board, and we have to advocate for ourselves to the state to seek more funding. And that's what we do currently where I am. We're in legislative session right now, and we have our priorities, and we actually went to the state capitol and met with state legislators to really advocate on behalf of our school district. we don't get enough funding. We had some underfunded mandates. We made it work, but it cannot continue. It's not sustainable. So we have to be advocates for our needs here that benefit our children, our teachers, and staff. And so there will be a lot of forecasting going on.
Thank you. Our next question, are you willing to stand up to the board as other superintendents have in the past with full knowledge that they have a history of forcing people out of their position if they can't have their way?
So my answer to that is we're going to work as a team. Bottom line, we're going to work as a team. And when people see us working together, they will know we're a winning team. We can agree to disagree behind closed doors, but when we come outside, I'm going to work with my board. You won't see any dissension from me. You won't see any dissension from my team. The team will work with them. We do board practice. Before we get to a board meeting, we have board prep, but I will be advising the board, here's what's on the agenda when I meet with them one-on-one. We'll have our one-on-one coffees, whatever they desire, but I work for the will of the board. There won't be any dissension. We'll be a strong team of 8.
Thank you. A citizen asked, what do public-private partnerships look like for you in regards to Montgomery Public Schools?
Great question. Public-private partnership, when we really coalesce everyone, all of these great partnerships, and you have them, I'll call that collective action network development, and it's to cause collective impact. I did collective impact work at the state. That's what the community and university partnerships work was. So for example, we have a teacher shortage. We'll partner with the institutions of higher ed to help us out. I firmly believe, and here's another example, we had a shortage of bilingual teachers in a particular school district in Texas, South Texas, and I shared with the superintendent, your future teachers are sitting in your classrooms. Let's get them to the university, put them in teacher education, get them certified, but upon graduation from high school, you give them a promissory note of employment, a contract that says upon graduation of college and you're certified, we'll hire you back because you have a vested interest. You grew up here, you went to school here, I think they'll do well. But we must expand our grow your own approach. And so that's an example of how partnerships work. Another example is really creating that ministerial alliance. You know, I talk to you, I'm a man of faith. How many of you watch The Forge? You can raise your hand, you can participate. I like people participating. You know, that's one of my favorite movies. But our ministerial alliance, I got an invite and I'm thinking I'm just going to lunch to hear some prayer and a message. No, it was Next Man Up. It was our ministers mentoring our students. You know, we have young men who don't have any direction, nor a positive male role model in their lives. They see us, but external to the school, there are some men interested in their future success. This is about life. When it all boils down to it, we can educate them properly, but we want to launch them into a great life. We want them to have a great quality of life. There are all kinds of partnerships, but when you bring them together and you have a common agenda, you have a common purpose, great things can happen. It's just like when those big elephants work together, we can build pyramids, right? It's going to happen.
Thank you. Our next question is, how would you try to protect the special education program if funding is in jeopardy?
I will be the biggest advocate. You know, having had an uncle that was special needs and him not getting educated properly, I think that was a travesty, very near and dear to my heart. I will be their biggest advocate, especially working at the state level. I do know some of the people at the federal level. One lady was my boss, and so I will be encouraging that person. I know they have an agenda, but we still got to try. But advocating, that's one of our priorities is I work with the board. We've got to make sure that all of our children, not some of them, but all of our children are given advantages that no other school district can provide. We've got to take care of MPS. And so when it comes to special needs kids, I want to make sure they have great teachers. You know, when kids experience a great teacher in every classroom, that's what should be happening, then they can thrive. We don't want them in survival mode, but I will be their biggest champion in terms of special needs students. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, where is the largest line item in your budget allocated, and is that the best place? If not, where should it be?
Well, knowing what I know about budgets is salaries. And so, yes, teachers and staff, when I look at salaries, they're not paid for their value right now. And so when 80 to 85% of your salaries is in personnel, or your budget is in personnel, that's hard to change. There's no shift in that. We pay for talent, right? When we seek talent, we got to pay them. We have to pay for the talent, and we have to pay to keep them. One of the things I hope to do is come in and look at the evaluation process and have very incredible evaluations. We'll do it as a team, but I've heard that maybe it's an opportunity for us to look at and really create some teacher leader pipelines to where we can keep our talent at the campus, but them taking a leadership role and getting paid for it. And so there are some opportunities. Those are things that I've done in my past. We do teacher incentive allotment. There are some teachers in our district making almost 6 figures right now. But yes, that's the best place. We pay for talent. That's where the rubber hits the road. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. And an elected official has this question. How will you work with city and county elected officials and leaders?
I'm going to go back to the last question. I need to include staff in that. We'll pay staff for their performance as well. And so putting forth the effort and effectiveness. How would I work with elected officials? You know, I'm a human. I desire good, healthy working relationships with everybody. I desire to have a plan to move forward. You know, we have a strategic plan. It's a roadmap for us to take action. It's a roadmap. The 3 things that I do, and I failed to mention, I inspire. I need to reach out to you because I need buy-in into what we're trying to do. I motivate. Motivation is a call to action. Then I develop. I coach people. We develop plans together. Working with elected officials is going to be the same thing. There's a call to action in that strategic plan. We can create initiatives at the front end. I need the elected officials, where it's not just reading in our elementary schools or middle schools or high schools, it's citywide. There are some adults that need to go back to school and get a diploma. We need to help them learn to read. There's a deficit model and deficit thinking in our society, thinking, well, things are going to get better. No, we need to have an educated society. That's what public schools are about. We need to have an educated society. And so the other thing that I hope to do, we have an early college, high school model. Kids are taking dual credit. We started the first, they're called P-Tech schools in the state when I was in Dallas ISD. And what it is, kids enter college in 9th grade. They're taking dual credit classes. We have an industry partner. By the time they get to 11th grade, they're actually working for that industry partner, making $25 an hour, we call it living wage. Before they graduate, they get an associate's degree. Then they get their diploma. Then there's a transition. If they desire to go to a 4-year university, they have that option because we're working with higher ed for 4 years completion rates. You know, I mentioned to you there's the portrait of a graduate. I said, what about the portrait of a postgraduate? Leading into that career, when kids sign up for postgraduate studies, whether it's in their career field of interest or if they go to college, we need to make sure that we've given them the soft skills to graduate, but after that, we need to make sure they persist through college. Those are examples of how partnerships work. And I will work hard with the board, with my team, and with the community to make that happen. It's not going to be my idea of work. We're going to do this together.
Thank you. Next question is, how can you ensure a non-hostile work environment from top leadership so it will not trickle down into MPS staff's morale and affect our children?
Great question. One thing I firmly believe, when I introduce the principles of public service and we abide by them, we provide service and support to our principals and teachers and staff in the schools. It's not a privilege or a right to work in central office if you don't have that mindset. One thing that I will do is send surveys out about different departments to our school personnel. Basically, are you getting treated right? Are you getting the service and support that you need? Is it fast? Is it flexible? Is it friendly? You know, it goes back to customer service. Our personnel in our schools are our customers. Our kids are our customers. Is our service and support fast, flexible, friendly? But I'll survey and hold people accountable to make sure that they're doing those things.
Thank you. Our next question is, given the ongoing issue with students' transcripts not being sent to colleges, what is your immediate plan of action to resolve this matter and ensure that students, especially those at Johnson, Abernathy, Greats High School, JAG, are not further harmed by this delay?
So we had that issue several years ago, and what we did, we invested, I really don't want to call the name of a product or a vendor because I don't want to be trying to sell anything, but we invested in a product to where it was parent-facing. Anytime they needed a transcript, they could go directly into this software and request it and get it sent to the college or university of their child's dreams, as I call it. And so we can have that parent-facing impact instead of, when we take off on the summer, that's when it's really problematic. There's nobody in our offices sometimes to deliver a transcript or get a transcript done. We invested in a product that can support that. It's parent-facing. It also gives parents information about financial aid, how to help your child persist through college, those types of things. We made a very wise investment in that type of software to help our families. So great question, thank you.
Thank you. Next, what is your opinion on teacher retention in Montgomery County Public Schools, and how do you plan on retaining high qualified teachers?
What is my opinion? Can you repeat that?
Sure. What is your opinion on teacher retention in the Montgomery Public School system? How do you plan on retaining highly qualified teachers?
One of the things I need to do when I first get here, I need a teacher focus group. I need teachers to inform me what they love about this school district, what will keep them here, how to use them in a leadership role for decision making. I believe decision making is fully inclusive. I believe principals, the best principals that I know, include teachers on their A teams, their achievement teams. We need to make sure we properly respect teachers, give them the support and the resources that they need, but I need to listen to them as the superintendent. When we listen and I take action, it builds trust. Those are things I do. I'll do the same thing with principals and assistant principals because I need them to have a voice and they need to know that I value what they share with me and my team.
Thank you. The next question is, what is your experience and relationship with charter schools, and what role should they play in Montgomery Public Schools?
My experience with charter schools, we had some school districts in the state that started in district charter schools, but my experience is the fact that we need great schools in every community that serve our children. And my opinion about charter schools won't matter if I state it up here, because they're doing their own thing. In respect of what they're trying to do, they're people putting great effort for children, and I don't negatively criticize anybody's program where they send their kids. Okay, I don't do that. I'm not a negative person, I'm a very positive person. What I do know is that we can champion kids in the school district, and we can have great schools. We can make things better when we work together. And when parents choose Montgomery Public Schools, they're going to know that we're going to give them our best. That's what I share with you. High expectations, everyone giving their best every day. So kids have a great experience that when they look back on their time in this school district, they will have thoughts of joy. And so I don't have an opinion on where people choose to send their schools. It's not right for me to even state it, but I know what we can do in this public school district. We can make things better. We can always improve. The greatest room in the world, or the biggest one, is the room for improvement. But when we believe in those things, when the teachers and the principals, assistant principals, counselors, staff, support staff, we're moving in the right direction, I do believe we can create something phenomenal.
Thank you. Next question is, what are plans to bridge the gap between the graduation rate and the math reading proficiency rate?
The initial gap for numeracy, for literacy, begins in early learning. One of the things I've shared with the school board, I partnered with the Harlem Children's Zone. It was a model. I looked at that model. What they do is get kids school ready before they enter pre-K 3. There's a reading practice that they share with the families between 18 months and 3 years old to make sure kids develop more words. This research-based practice. They know how to speak because kids are watching your lips move, bringing in linguists. It's part of English language development. But throughout all of our schools, I was with a principal today, she mentioned her emerging bilinguals, is what I call them, they're English language learners, about the strategies that they use. I mentioned to that principal, I asked the question, are you using the ELPS, the English Language Proficiency Standards? So what we should see in every classroom ought to be a reading classroom. And so we should see students engaged around reading, writing, speaking, and listening. That's part of developing good grammar and good English, as they say. And so I truly believe we're going to have it pre-K 16 approach. We'll work with our universities because when our kids leave us, we want them to be able to do scholarly writing. That's a big component. So reading and writing, that's true literacy, they go with one another. But for our emerging bilinguals, what I do know and what I've learned over time, if the instruction doesn't match the assessment, I struggled with this when I was a high school principal. I'm like, we're jumping through hoops to do everything for our children. When I went in the classrooms and I observed what wasn't happening was the speaking part. And that's why our oral language proficiency was low. So I will make sure that reading, writing, speaking, and listening, engagement strategies, I call them the RIBIs, research-based instructional strategies, are evident in every single classroom. No matter if it's reading or English language arts classroom, it should be happening in all content areas.
And how would you address absenteeism or incentivize perfect attendance?
One of the things that we champion, we look at our data. We developed an attendance review committee at the district level, but all schools have their own attendance review committees. What we utilize is an MTSS model. We look at universal practices. What I've asked the schools to do, classroom by classroom, You know, elementary schools, they get into it, they celebrate 100% attendance per classroom. They take pictures, they celebrate. But we have universal practices. When we go to tier 2, we start looking at the chronic absenteeism. Then we start contracting with the students. We get the parents more involved because we don't want kids to miss out on learning. When they go to tier 3, those kids who just really don't show up, then we have a plan and a process for them. But we try to avoid the really punitive things by referring them to court. We're going to try everything, and that's when the wraparound services. Most times kids are missing school. Let's say school buses. It's cold outside, it rains. Then I'm not sending my baby out there to stand and wait on the bus in a driving rainstorm. It's too cold. And so kids miss for those reasons. Kids miss after holidays. Kids miss before holidays. But we'll have an approach to where everyday attendance matters. We'll use a resource called Attendance Work. It's best practices, but there will be an extreme focus. One thing that I've learned in overtime in the last 2 years, our chronic absenteeism was at 24%, and that's post-pandemic. It's at 14% right now across the district because we knocked on doors, we went to houses, we're trying to find our students. We'll do whatever it takes, but you'll see a very distinct plan here in MPS.
Thank you. Montgomery Public Schools has a number of schools labeled as failing. What is your plan to move beyond punitive accountability measures and actually improve teaching and learning in those schools?
So I'll work with the team, number one, to identify what are the needs of that school. I'll work with, when I say team, both the cabinet and the school team, because people tend to own what they help to create. So we have to create an improvement plan. I call them action plans, but we have to take action. My plan is to really create what I call clusters, small learning environments. When we start looking at the needs of our schools, my superintendent and I, who I work with now, we created a tiering tool. There were certain things that we looked at in terms of best practice. So there's academic performance for our assessments. We have benchmark assessments every 6 weeks. We look at how did they perform, and we do a stoplight report. And, pretty much like stoplight, red, green, yellow. Green is good, yellow, take caution, red, they need more resources, they need more assistance in this area. Then we also have culture walks. I want to make sure that when kids enter a school, that they know people care for them. There are certain expectations of how we work with our children. Classroom management is a big factor. Do we have caring classrooms? That's part of safe practices, safe language being used. And so there will be a tiering tool to where I look at, here are the high performers, they get increased autonomy. But here, those schools who are really struggling, they need extra support. And so it will be a differentiated support where we will send more resources to help lift the school up. I saw school principals and teachers working really hard today. That's great. There are times where we need to send in the support, and we don't need to wait hoping. We need to be intentional.
Thank you. Another question from online is that parents often feel silenced or left out of key decisions. How would you build authentic partnerships with families to make sure that our voices shape the direction of this district?
I firmly believe that our parents are children's first teachers. We will have an intentional engagement plan, a strategy to where it's fully inclusive. Our elementary principals do a great job of including parents. Parents show up. What I've seen and learned is that as kids get older, they don't really show up like they do at the elementary level. That's the truth. That's the facts. What we need to do is really work with our PTAs, our parent leaders, to make sure that we bring them to us we'll have a district-wide PTA plan or approach. We'll listen to them and their needs, but also we'll provide some resources through partnerships. What are the needs? The needs in this school are distinctively different from the needs of the school down the street or around the corner. But I want principals to be able to have site-based decision-making with their teams and their parent organizations to say, hey, we need to address smoking cessation. We need to address how to get more families involved. And so I will support the principals and their teams and our PTA leaders in making sure we have a succinct plan for engaging all of our families. Then I'll show up. My team will show up. I'll create ambassadors to where we'll go out into the community to share our message. And it's called visioning. People need to know our vision. They don't often know what we're about. We need to remind everyone, yeah, we need you, but this is what we're about. We want to embrace you. We care for you, but we want you to embrace us back. And that comes with that safe, supportive, and supported schools program that I intend to bring here.
Thank you. And our final question for the evening is, what will you do to create an ongoing relationship with homeschool? How do the homeschool students' test scores compare with public school students?
Homeschool students, what I've seen and learned is the fact that they live in our communities. They live in our communities. I want to address that in a twofold way. There are homeschool students, and we have our families who choose to send their kids at pre-K3 and pre-K4 to daycares. So it's really the same thing. We need to provide them the support and resources to properly engage their students. So if they ever do come back to school, they're on track with their peers. I firmly believe we can support those who choose to homeschool. They live in our communities. Same thing with our daycares. We need to create partnerships with our daycares. When I did that in a school district in South Texas, they had 52 daycares. 52. But when I looked at their enrollment in pre-K3 and 4, it was lower, extremely lower than first and second grades. So the kids were going elsewhere. And then when we measured kindergarten readiness, I had schools in that particular school district, there were like 19% aggregate for reading and comprehension. They were not kinder ready. When we applied the solutions to both the schools and the daycares, then over time, things got better. We had 85% of those students who were reading and comprehending at the kindergarten grade level. So those are things that we have to do. I firmly believe that we can support our families in that manner.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, at this time, we'll give you an opportunity for 2 minutes just for closing comments. And as he provides his closing comments, can we put up his QR code once again so individuals may have an opportunity to see Dr. Wright's transition materials? Dr. Wright, you have the floor.
So one of the things, thank you, community. Thank you for the people here and the people that are watching online. I know this is a great place. I know this is a great opportunity. I am humble to be here tonight. I am very humble. Both of my parents were teachers. I came from humble beginnings. When my parents started teaching, they could not afford a babysitter, so I had to spend the first 5 years of my life with my grandparents. When my mom died, my dad took on an extra job to hire a babysitter. And those were very humble beginnings for me, and it let me know that how important our grandparents are. You know, they instilled discipline. My grandmother, she watched soap operas. My grandmother was the child of a black slave. But I'm sitting on the bed. She watched soap operas, and the commercials would come on, and she was trying to teach me. The Rolaids commercial came on, and for a long time, I thought you spell relief R-O-L-A-I-D-S. So, but anytime I bend down to tie my shoes, my grandmother taught me that. It's with me now. That's something I'm proud of, and I appreciate that. So I The people who came before me, I'm here today because of them. The people that came before me in the school district and all of us, they did some great things, and we have to respect and appreciate what they did then. We have to be appreciative of the now. We talk about the future way too much. Every time we wake up in the morning, the future is moving that way, right? The time is now. If we're going to move and make a difference for our kids, the time is now. We've got to make sure that our kids and our teachers and our principals have the tools and resources to be successful. The last thing I will say, I got a chance when I worked at the Texas Education Agency, and you asked the question, what makes me uniquely qualified? I met a gentleman named Dr. Virgil Wood. You can Google him. Dr. Virgil Wood became a friend of mine and a mentor. He was one of the last lieutenants for Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Virgil Wood attended one of my state-level community partnerships conferences. He was the keynote speaker. He talked about the beloved community. This is a beloved community. I'm a chief problem solver. When I come here, what I would hope that the community would embrace me and help us align our practices so our kids can move in the right direction. That's what I hope for. When we talk about all the other things that are happening right now, whether it's political, newsworthy, I stay positive. I got to stay focused. That's not who I'm about. You know, I had good upbringing, and my parents told me, stay focused, son. Stay positive. Help people. Lift people up. I don't get into all that stuff. I care about people. I love people. I'll work with anybody as long as we are on the same page and focused on the right practices and the right purpose and the right agenda. Thank you, Montgomery. I appreciate the time. I look forward to coming back. Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause. Okay, so this concludes the second day of interviews. At this time, we do have a reception out front, so please go out and have an opportunity to engage with one another and have an opportunity to speak with Dr. Wright. Also, know that the board plans on making this decision on April 8th. If anything changes, you'll be notified, but April 8th is that date that we are set for, and you should be receiving materials from today in the coming day. So thank you for being here this evening, and stay tuned. Good evening.
Hey, I'm not that song you are, what you say you are.